I'm live. I'm in chapter 9, Anatomy of a Mystery, of Prelude to the Landing on Planet Earth. This was a book about a very extraordinary journey, a journey guided by the management, a group of extraterrestrials. In chapter 8 we had the incident, canisters of poison into the Lake of Galilee. And Stuart Holroyd, who was present at some of the sessions, is going through this scenario here as a critiquer, as an unraveler of this story. It was published in 1977, and the incident happened in April 1975. He had here several headings. The last headings was parallels with esotericism. He says here, the tremendously increased interest in revealed teaching and religion of all kinds in the present decade would certainly seem to bear this out. The New Age esoteric tradition maintains will culminate in the New Age esoteric tradition maintains will culminate in the reappearance of the Christ, and this event will be preceded by the externalization of the hierarchy. That is to say, the appearance in the world of a number of great initiates and men of wisdom who, while doing normal worldly jobs, will be serving as guides and spiritual leaders. These members of the hierarchy, it is said, have long been preparing themselves for existence in the unfamiliar confines of the physical world. Their work of preparation will be assisted by a large and continually growing group of people in all countries and walks of life, who are known as the new group of world servers. The Christ, who last incarnated as Jesus of Nazareth, will return near the beginning of the Aquarian Age, when through the work of these precursors, man has manifested in his political, economic and social relations a will to base his conduct on the principles of cooperation, sharing, goodwill and mutual responsibility. He will return to complete the work begun in Palestine 2,000 years ago, which could not be brought to fruition at that time because mankind was not sufficiently educated and spiritually evolved to understand and apply the teaching. With the circumstances prevailing in the present age, a general higher standard of education, widespread awareness of the imminence of a planetary crisis, and the availability of media of mass communications, the task of world transformation will this time surely be accomplished. The esoteric teachings do not maintain that the hierarchy hail from elsewhere in the cosmos, but apart from this, the message corresponds pretty closely with what Tom says about the New Age, the landing, the preparation for that event, the previous work of the Christ through Jesus of Nazareth, and the raising of consciousness. Let me quote a passage from the teachings of the Tibetan, channeled by Alice Bailey, to illustrate how close these correspondences are. He says, the New Age will bring in eventually a civilization and a culture which will be utterly different to anything hitherto known. I would remind you here that all civilizations and cultures are externalizations, modified, qualified, and adapted to racial and national needs, of the potent, vibrating, and planned activity of the world of initiates and disciples who constitute the hierarchy of the time. Their plans, their thinking, and their living potency pour out ceaselessly and affect the consciousness of their disciples. These latter step down the inflowing energy so that the thinkers and idealists can grasp these new emerging truths more accurately. Eventually, the truths thus grasped change the consciousness of humanity as a whole and raise it, if you like that phrase. Thus, modes of daily living, civilized methods of contact, and cultural developments eventuate. All this is traceable to the group of initiates upon the inner side, who thus serve their fellow men and carry forward consciously and with intent the law of evolution. Both the esotericists and the Ossining communications envisage a necessary change in human consciousness being effected through occult influence, by means of energies and knowledge being channeled from a higher source. Both see the preparatory work being carried out by groups of human beings throughout the world who have volunteered. Both see the preparatory work being carried out by groups of human beings throughout the world who have volunteered to be in service, and both express awareness of the hazards and difficulties of working in this way. In the story the present book has related, there have been failures, backslidings, wrong turnings taken, interpersonal conflicts disrupting the work, and the reader might have asked on several occasions why the nine, if they are as powerful and as knowledgeable as they are supposed to be, allow these things to occur, or fail to foresee that they are going to occur. Thomas explained this in various places, and when we have a familiar ring. They, the hierarchy, impressed a plan and some suggestion as to its scope upon the mind of some man or some woman upon the physical plane. If that mind is unstable or over-satisfied, if it is filled with pride, with despair, or with self-depreciation, the vision does not come through with clarity of outline. If the emotional body is vibrating violently with some rhythm set up by the personality, or if the physical vehicle is ailing and concentrated attention is therefore prevented, what will happen? The master will turn sadly away, distressed to think of the opportunity for service that the worker has lost through his own fault, and he will seek someone else to fill the need. Someone perhaps not so fundamentally suitable, but the only one available on account of the failure of the first one approached. The idea that there exists extraterrestrial intelligences that are at the present time implementing a plan for the planet Earth and for man's further evolution, and that the success of the plan depends upon man's having the imagination to comprehend new knowledge and the will to act on it, are common to both esoteric teachings and the Ossining have in common are the doctrine of reincarnation, that of the multiple bodies, the physical, the etheric, the emotional, etc., that man possesses a cosmology based on the concepts of polarity and balance, and a scientific philosophy and psychology developed around the imagery of fire, light, energy, and vibration. The correspondences indeed are so close that it is surely not merely idly fanciful to ponder whether the Ossining communications might not be a spiritual part of the revelatory phase of the unfolding of the ageless wisdom, which esoteric tradition maintained would begin about 1975. A new heading, parallels with other contemporary communications. In one of the communications, Tom said that there were other groups and individuals in the world who were in contact with other extraterrestrial units, but stressed that Phyllis was the only channel. For the nine, and that the communications with the Ossining group were the most complete and detailed that were being channeled to Earth, which were channeled to Earth at the present time. When I first heard this statement, I thought it would be very interesting to try and track down some of these other communicators and see if the information they were getting corresponded with that channeled by Phyllis. If such correspondences were found, this would surely be the most conclusive evidence possible that the information emanated from a source independent of all the groups involved in communications. The problem was how to locate the other communicator. We had one example in the case of Andrew Watson, Lyell's brother, who had been out of touch in South Africa and independently communicating with Algon. But his material was not published, unnoticed, so it seemed impossible to know how many similar cases there might be, and how one could get to know about them. However, in the course of the last few months, by browsing through bookshops and book catalogues, I have come across accounts by two putative recipients of communications from extraterrestrials, which have striking correspondences with the Ossining material. The first is related by Brad Steiger in his book Revelation, the Divine Fire. The channel for this material is named Charles, lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and is described Charles lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and is described as a blue-collar worker of modest education. The communicating entity identified itself by the name Ishkomar. In the following transcription of some of the Ishkomar material, I have italicized interesting points of correspondence with the Ossining material. It says, I was brought to the vicinity of this planet approximately 30,000 years ago by your method of time measurement. Your planet and the living forms upon it have a specific value to us. Your form of life has a particular value to us. For this reason, at about the time I was brought to the vicinity of your world, we interfered with the natural development of the species of man that inhabited this planet. Our purpose was to shorten the cycle of development necessary for the human inhabitants of this planet to be of use to us. We have worked patiently with you for over 30,000 years. The development brought about would have taken by normal cycles would have taken over 250,000 years. Our intent, however, is not to control or to rule over you. Intergalactic law within our group forbids this. We are, however, permitted to guide you. Your acceptance of us is by your own choice. We, however, are not alone in our interests in your world. There is in existence with us another group. Their interests are not necessarily harmful to you, yet their methods are in direct opposition to ours. They also have interfered with the development of your planet. They wish to reach their ends, not by cooperation, but by control and domination. You must reach a high level of mental development and knowledge to be able to understand our purpose. We have attempted to gain your cooperation for thousands of years. We have been victims of your kind, but you must desire guidance for us to be of assistance to us. For us to be of assistance to you. We are using many methods at this time to inform your people of our presence and our immediate purpose. The time is quite near for a cooperation between us to begin. Your next step upward will soon begin. Full knowledge of our presence will soon be known to your planet. There will be, at that time, great upheavals on your planet. We regret this cannot in any way be avoided. We therefore have warned man repeatedly to prepare for these events, both mentally and physically. I'm sure that the correspondences with the Ossining material, particularly with regard to the points italicized, will be clear enough to the reader to require no further comment. The same is true of some of the Mark Age material channeled by the medium Nada Yolanda, a substantial corpus of communications received over the last 15 years, from which I have extracted the following significant passages. Are here to aid the spiritual program. The Space Brothers, both physical and etheric, are here to supplement, not to replace. Your own God consciousness, your own attunement with your highest, stimulate certain spiritual centers to help you along the path. The time is short. That is why they have come to aid this planet and the race upon it to evolve a little bit more quickly. As you know, into this particular aspect of your world and history, and to utilize properly the new rate of vitality of your present expression of vehicles. You have upon your planet thousands upon thousands who have no idea of spiritual enlightenment, who have no desire or need for psychic explanations, yet they are receiving inspirationally and through mental telepathic guidance our ideas and our future aims, to have them in every walk of life. You have people who have come from other planets who have no such thing as life on another planet, who even may not believe in life on other planets. Yet there are in your Earth's atmosphere waiting, living the life, normal, so-called average, everyday, prosaic lives, according to you who are studying, and they still are receiving. Their teachers are around them. Their high selves know who they are and what their destiny is. Within every single human being is a transmitting and sending of vital energy, which is the vital energy of the universe. The purpose is that each one of you should be able to be transmitters and receivers of this energy, to perform and create as co-creators with God. That is why we try to make you understand that we are not here to control you or to hurt you. We are here to help you understand your true roles and to help you realize your true powers, which you have forgotten on this particular planet called Earth. Although you may have incarnated from very high etheric realms and other planets which have exercised these powers and rights while you are in the Earth vibration, incarnated in this set of vibrations, you have lost or have forgotten, as though in a dream state, those natural, inherent. When we use this vehicle, for instance, when we use Yolanda's body, it is strictly through the dedication and the free will of the self-consciousness. Before incarnating into this life, she dedicated her vehicle to these teachers to do this. We protect and guide you because you are of us and one of us. But you have volunteered your mission, we have volunteered ours. You are being taught the meaning of cooperation, coordination with every other realm, dimension and planet, because one cannot be out of order or out of character while the others are being geared to a certain role and a certain function. If you are not in cooperation with them, they cannot move forward with ease and harmony. You are holding them up. If they are hindered or held back to do a role or play a part in your evolution or growth, they cannot expend that time's energy upon their own evolutionary growth. We bring this message through to you at the peak of the cycle known to this unit as the action cycle, because it precipitates several plans in the overall program. Plan 1 in space communication, physical and mental, accepted and presented to the mass media. Plan 2 is occupation by Space Brothers for further Integrated Solar Federation of Planetary Brotherhood. Plan 3 is mass education on the spiritual program known as evolution into the fourth dimensional consciousness. Finish the quotes of Yolanda. To say the very least, the parallels and indicate that the Orsinian communications are not an isolated phenomenon or the product of somebody's crazed subconscious. They have links with history, with esoteric, and with other contemporary psychic phenomena. Whether they are something more than remarkable and fascinating psychic phenomenon, whether they really do emanate from an extraterrestrial source, are questions that we should, by all accounts, soon have unequivocal answers to. Speaking of the landing, let us give Tom the last word in a communication held on the 11th of January 1977. Just before this book was delivered to the publishers, John asked whether what has been stated in the book fully covers what you want to be said about the landing. Tom replied, "It is important that there will be physical civilizations that will come to raise the level on this planet, to bring it out of its own contamination, to purify it, and to prepare the people to keep it in a pure state, so it does not become in a collapsed state for future generations. This is the most beautiful of all the planets that exists in the universe. It has the greatest variety. That is expressed in the book. But it is also important to tell the readers that there is hope for future generations on this planet. For in truth, if this planet may be purified, then it will be the greatest paradise for all souls. It is also important that they understand that each of them is responsible for him or herself, for their neighbors, for future generations, and for the universe. And if they believe that they will have life after their physical death, then they must understand that what they do in this life, they must undo in the next. It is of the greatest importance that they understand the necessity for the purification of this planet Earth, and that they understand too that it cannot be done with their technology, for the time is past. And that they understand too that it cannot be done with their technology, for the time is past for so saving it. This must be told, so that they will not create difficulty for the civilizations that will come." And there is a quote of St. Matthew 24 at the very end, and I quote it. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nations shall rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Well, I enjoyed this very much. This is Stuart Holroyd. Today is a Saturday, the 29th of March. Spring is here.